Welcome to the Worthy Writers Podcast. I'm your host, Kirsten McNeil, full-service book editor and confidence coach for writers. This podcast is about empowering writers and creatives to go forward on their journey with unapologetic confidence and the reminder to write for yourself. If you enjoy what you hear, leave a review and share with your friends. Let's jump in. Hello, worthy writers. Welcome to the podcast. My name is Kirsten, and today I'm here with Arabella, and we're going to talk about the law of attraction and how that connects with writing. So tell our listeners a little bit about you, what you write, and just anything you want to throw in there.
Okay. Hi, guys. I'm Arabella Federico. I'm a sci-fi-fantasy author. My first book released last September, The Mark of Creation, and I've been on my writing journey for a long time, which I think most of us have been. I think writers are kind of like, not struggle buses, but we all kind of take our time with our publishing journey most of the time. And that was kind of my story, but I finally got my book published. I published indie, so I published it myself, and I've really liked that route. I've liked all the control and kind of doing it all myself. It kind of brought out like this entrepreneur woman in me that I didn't know existed, which is great. Because I definitely think like being an author, especially an indie author, is way more about being a business person than just like the art of writing. And so, yeah, I try to do that. And kind of like you said at the beginning, I've really used and integrated the law of attraction into my writing, into my life. And I swear it's probably the key to my success and why I've gotten where I have. And yeah, I think it's something that more people should at least be open to. And yeah, and it's great for your mental health too. Like, just side note, it's just good for your overall like mental well-being. So it's a cool thing. I really like it.
Yeah, it sounds very interesting, and I look forward to hearing you talk more about it. I just have to say, I love the term struggle buses because it just feels like so, like, even though it's like almost a negative term, it's just like, yeah, we just struggle. It's just how it goes, but we keep moving on because that's what we
Exactly.
do, right? So, yeah. So why don't you, for those of the listeners that don't know, why don't you get into, what law of attraction is and maybe how you kind of discovered it yourself?
So I always like to start off saying like law of attraction it's not a religion really. So a lot of people who are like Christian or something like that, they'll be like, well, that's like different and it has nothing to do with religion or anything like that. So you could be anybody of any faith and participate in this. I kind of feel like it's more of like a mindset lifestyle change than like a religious one. For me, it definitely like transformed into like a spiritual practice, but that doesn't have to be necessary for everybody. It's not like the two are like mutually exclusive. So, law of attraction is basically the mentality that what you give, so what you think about, what you say, the energy you put into your life, in your words, is ultimately what you get back in your external reality. So, let's say if I say, I'll never find love, all men are crap. I see all men being crap and I never find love. So that's just kind of like an example. And so I noticed something when I first started my writing journey that like writers are super, super negative. And I I don't really get it. Like, because I've done a lot of different things in my life, most of them being some form of like artistic expression. So, like, I went to beauty school and got my Cosmo license and did makeup professionally for years. And not ever did I hear anyone be like, oh, yeah, my hair cutting sucks. Like while they're doing someone's hair, like, so it's something that I think writers struggle with. I hear it all the time. I'm sure you do. Like, oh, my writing's crap. Oh, you'll never succeed. Oh, it's so hard to be successful. Only 1% of authors make a living. Like, sure, you could argue that some of those are facts or whatever, but I think there's just like this overall negative mentality in the writing community. And that's not to put anybody down. It's not to say that anyone is doing anything wrong. But for me, it was just like a super downer. And I don't exactly remember when I found out about the law of attraction, but I found out about it and I was like, oh, this is interesting. And I did something really small. It was something about like a crow. Like the person I watched on YouTube, I forget her name. She was just this lady on YouTube talking about it. And she was like, okay, if you want to like test it, right? So she was like, think of something and then wait for it to show up in your reality. And I was like, okay, well, I love like ravens and crows. So I thought like about a crow and all that. And then the next day I decided to watch this anime that I used to watch as a kid and I never finished it. And the only place I could find it was on YouTube. And so I was watching this anime and there was this crow that was like chasing this girl or whatever. And I was like, okay, that's kind of weird. Like that just showed up. Like, and so that kind of just got like my gears turning. And the more research I did on it and the more I kind of delved into it, I was like, this is so fascinating. And I think like at the time, I wouldn't call it like super depressed, but like I was struggling with like mental health issues and stuff and anxiety. And I was like, okay, so I'm starting to think about the words and the phrases and the things I'm telling myself. And they were like really like negative. Like I would always say, oh, I have anxiety. And then like I have anxiety, and oh, I'm been depressed forever. And like, oh, I'm depressed and forever. And so for me, and this is not like medical advice or, there's a lot of people that have legitimate mental health issues. So take this with a grain of salt, of course. For me, in my experience, I started taking all those negative things that I said about myself regarding like my anxiety and stuff, and I just switched it up. And very quickly, all those issues kind of vanished for me. And I've been a person who has been like dealing with that my entire life. And so it really changed the game for me on a fundamental level. I still, struggle with that, every once in a while, but to the degree that I did, it's just completely night and day. And so that like had me convinced that there's something to this. And so when I finally brought it into my writing, I was like, I am never going to say one negative word about my writing, about my process. And it's not about like being delusional to the point where you don't improve. It's like, okay, so I would say, okay, my writing is really good. I can improve here, but it's still good. Or you're getting better here. And I just started saying that stuff. And even though my writing wasn't good, because this was way back when I was first starting, like it wasn't good, but I just didn't care. I just said, it's good. Like this is all going to work out for me. And, I'm going to find the people that are going to want me to succeed. These people are going to come into my life and they're going to help me succeed. And the universe has my back and it's all just going to work out. And it all really has. Like I landed one of Brandon Sanderson's editors. Like she's freaking amazing. And my cover is just beautiful. Like I've just had so many like little bits of luck, but I don't think it's luck. I think it's my attitude. I think it's how I approach it. I think it's the vibe I put out, knowing that like it's all just going to work out. Like this is going to blow up. It's going to be huge, and I've gotten so many opportunities past, present, and future from it. And it's just growing every day. I wish it would be bigger and I wish the book like totally exploded and was super amazing. And that didn't happen, but it still did really good. And I know it's just the process. Like that's just how it is. It's going to be great. And that's just kind of how I feel about it. Like, even if something's not going great, like if I have like low page reads or something on KO, I'm like, whatever, like these page reads are hot. Like, it's just going to work. And then they go back up. And, it kind of frees me mentally from having to worry about it or like comparing to other people who had like a really like bomb release that like their book took off immediately. And mine sort of did, but not like hugely. It just kind of frees me to just not let that get to me and just know that like there's a higher power out there that's going to take care of this for me, and for whatever reason this is just the path that it's taking. As long as people are liking the book, which they are, and they're reading it, which they are, like that's great, and it's just going to take off. It's just going to grow, and this is the path that it's going to take, and I'm happy with that. So that's kind of how it happened, the simplified version obviously, but Yeah, it's been really great. I've really loved it. And I've tried to do things like on my YouTube channel. I have these little writer specific affirmation videos that are called my writing rampages. And it kind of is just like a 4 minute like little video that, a writer can listen to where I'm talking to them, but it's like I'm talking, I think it's like first person, like I'm a good writer, like I have really good prose, and it's like that. And so I try to help other people kind of discover this, but it's hard to explain, through text or through a TikTok video. I've never really like sat down like I am now and really explained it in detail like I am here. So I'm grateful for the opportunity because I think more people should know about it.
Yeah, it's definitely so fascinating the connections our minds make. Like you're talking about like seeing the
Yeah.
crow and everything and just like what we bring into our reality, right? And you talked about how, makeup and hair artists don't have as much like negativity as writers do. And I think one of the reasons is like writing is a super long process, like especially if you're in like a novel, like it is a long process from start to, publication. And I feel like in like hair and makeup and stuff, typically, the beginning to like the end product is, a couple hours maybe, right? So it's easier to be like, oh yeah, look at this finished product as opposed to like a writer who's like, oh, well, I've still got like 10 chapters left to write and I don't know if this is good or anything, right? So it's so
Yeah,
easy to get stuck in your head. And
it
that's why I
is.
love doing things like, the Worthy Writers podcast. And, I love to promote confidence and all that mindset stuff. So I really like, I thank you for coming to talk about law of attraction because I think that's so fascinating how it just works, how you just decide to be that way, to have this attitude and then it's working out for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's so true. Like, it's so hard being a writer just in general, like you said, because you could be like slaving away and never know if it's even good or not. And I think like it's just a really good point. And I think that's probably why the community is kind of so negative in that way, is because you just don't get to see the fruits of your labor for years in some cases. And that takes a lot of mental fortitude to keep going and slaving over something when you have no idea if it's even good or what's going to happen. It's definitely saved me, this law of attraction stuff, because it's so hard to do it sometimes. Like being a writer is really hard. And, like, I don't know if you have heard recently like about Raven Kennedy and what happened with her books and the piracy situation and all the drama kind of surrounding that.
Yeah.
And especially for indie authors and all that Amazon is doing, and it's just like it's tough, sometimes, but I put my book in KU, and I, even with that, I tell myself, well, no, my book is protected, like it's gonna be fine, like the Amazon bots aren't gonna find me. So far, knock on wood, it's been okay. My book has been safe, but it's just like writers just are getting hit from every angle. So I think it is really important for us to have some sort of positive mindset in this journey, because it could get super, super easy and quick to like just get discouraged and just be like, no, I'm done. And I think that ultimately like hurts the readers, and the people who pirate want to read great books, and yet they're kind of causing all these amazing creative people to stop writing, because it can happen. Amazon can take your account down and you're basically dead in the water after that. And I made a joke that like the AI bots were going to take over, and that's all these readers are going to get is like little AI bot stories, which are actually like creepily not terrible. It's just so weird. The way that tech is moving is crazy. Just as a side note.
Yeah, technology these days is just like mind blowing sometimes of like the things that can be created and just the opportunities that people have to just like take other people's art and just things that, like you said, authors are just getting hit from every angle trying to make it as an author being self-published especially, right? And it's just like, so for someone who's like new to like law of attraction, kind of wants to bring that into their life more, where might you suggest like they start, or like what's something that they can really do that's like easy to like really incorporate that into their life?
Great question. I think definitely start like watching some YouTube videos on it. There's a lot of really great people on YouTube who teach it and know a heck of a lot more about it than I do. But I think maybe find something in your life that maybe is a little bit bothersome to you, but you're not like super attached to it. Like, let's say you want a raise or something. Everyone wants a raise. So, just like start saying, like, oh yeah, I love this raise that I got. And a lot of the times with law of attraction, where people get hung up is that when they talk about it and think about it, they think about it either in like a future tense, and you really want to embody it in a present tense. Like, I have that raise, like I got that raise, not I'm getting it, not it's coming. No, it's here. I'm living it. I'm loving it. This is how I feel with that new raise. And so law of attraction is a very funny thing because it's like if you want it a lot, it creates resistance, and then that resistance creates this weird loop of like keeping it from you. So you have to find this balance of cool as a cucumber and not holding on to it so tight. Like, you want it, want it, want it. You can't like do that. You have to just kind of let it go, which is why I recommend like starting with something that you don't have a super attachment to. Maybe a raise isn't the best example because like everyone could use that. But just start off with like saying like blue flower. Those are really rare. Something that you wouldn't see every day, or like a Pikachu. Just something like it's small. Think about it and then just let it go and see if it comes back to you. And I found what's so crazy about law of attraction is when it does come back to you, it comes back in like the weirdest ways. Like, you would never expect it to. Like with that crow example, I had a date bring me these tarot cards with the crow on it. That's how it shows up. It's just like so interesting how it shows up to you. But do research on it, take it easy, take it slow, and just know that like you're so much more powerful than you probably realize. Our minds and our brains are so super intelligent. See, the conspiracy theorist in me thinks that we're like taught to believe that we're so much less than we are. I think that, whatever the powers that be are, it's the fantasy writer in me, like that they just don't want us to know like how powerful we really are, that we can create anything that we want. We can create the money and the abundance and the freedom and the life and the love and everything that we want just by thinking about it. Like, imagine if everyone in the world knew that and believed that fully. There would be no lack. Like, there wouldn't be the people on top stepping on the people on the bottom. And, I'll never know if that's true or not. But it's really kind of just like a personal journey that you take when you start doing law of attraction, because it requires you to look inside and say, okay, I'm saying this negative stuff about myself. Like, if you have like a list of all this terrible things that we all say to ourselves on a daily basis, and making that change can be really hard because you're used to it. You're used to saying that you're a piece of crap, or you're a crap writer, or your writing's never good and nobody cares and no one will ever read it, and yada yada yada, all the stuff that we say to ourselves. And it goes even beyond writing, like it did for me. And it's endless. Like, I've been doing this for years and years, and I'm still learning and still figuring out and trying to find exactly what works. And it's just a crazy thing. Like, it's crazy, but it all does work out. It just does. It works out. You just have to have faith in it, and it does. It's crazy.
Yeah, I like that you said that you've been doing it for years, but you're still kind of learning, right? Because my next question to you is going to be like, do you find you're in a place where this law of attraction just comes naturally to you, or are you like having to remind yourself to bring it in sometimes? Or like, so I guess maybe focus on like with writing, like, do you have to remind yourself a lot to like bring in that positive attitude, or is it just kind of something that flows naturally for you?
For writing, I feel like it does flow naturally, but there are still times where I have to be like, stop. It's more with like everything else other than the writing itself. Like, I feel confident in my writing. I feel confident in my storytelling, in my plots and my characters and all of that. It's more the other people, that I struggle with. Like, the readers or, the reviewers or whoever. It's that I have to really keep my like mental diet is what they call it on point with that and saying, like, no, people really love to read it. People are reading, people want to leave great reviews. They do leave great reviews, that kind of thing. And there is someone on TikTok, I don't know her name, but she like talks about how there are two ways of thinking about the stuff in our reality. It's how we feel about something, and then the object of our desire, how it feels about us. So I feel like I love my book, my writing's great, I like my writing, and then it's, oh, readers love my writing, readers love my books, readers leave great reviews and they're passionate. The readers want to read everything that I write, everything I write turns to gold, that type of stuff. So it's kind of two different angles of it. And I feel like for writing, I'm good on the me part, but it's the other part that is a little bit more of a struggle just because I've spent years on the writing side and just this couple of months as an actual published author. So I think that's kind of why it's a little bit fuzzier and not as solid as the other side, but I know it'll get there. So, it's okay.
Yeah, I think it's just about the journey of it all. Like you said, you're still learning, and outside factors are definitely very strong. And I don't know, like, I'm not an expert on like mindset stuff, and I don't know where exactly I heard this, but there's this thing of like, you can hear like 10 positive comments and like it feels good, and yet there's still like some resistance. But like the one time you hear like one negative comment, you're like, yep, that's true. That's the truth, right? It's so weird how powerful that negativity can come in.
Totally. And I have found that because trying to like keep it like positive all the time, it is work. It is not easy. And I have found myself like slipping back down so fast and so quick. Because there were times like before I published, either with like beta readers or ARC readers or something, I don't even remember what it was, but something knocked my confidence. I don't even remember what it was at this point, but something knocked my confidence so much where I was like, I'm not even going to publish. Like right before I was going to publish, my dog died, so I was in a really bad place before my book came out. So I think that kind of was a part of it, but something like knocked me, and it wasn't even that bad. But it just knocked my confidence so bad, and I was like, I can't do this, I can't publish. And it was just, I just felt like my thoughts just spiraling out of control. And it's like, no, I need to like stop, go general. That's what Abraham Hicks says. That's a great person to go listen to, is Abraham Hicks. She's on YouTube. She's amazing. She's like this woman that channels like the spirits, which is great. But she talks about like when you are like spiraling like that and you're just having just like incessant, like really negative thoughts, to just kind of like chill out and just like be general about it. People love my writing. I'm a good writer, period. That's simple. And that's just kind of where you kind of come back to a baseline, and then you can start, adding in other things. But it's like you just have to stabilize yourself almost. And like, that's why I said a lot of this, it's almost impossible like not to grow from law of attraction, because you have to do a lot of internal looking at yourself. And that can be really hard for people. And if you don't think you're like mentally able to do that, then definitely don't. You'll know how far to take it and all of that. And it was extremely healing for me on so many levels, writing included. Like, it's just been incredible. Like, I don't know where I would be if I hadn't found this thing. Like, I just don't know where I would be. And it can do amazing things, but like it requires a lot of bravery to just be like, I'm not it's a weird paradigm, because you have to look at yourself and see all the things that are wrong, but at the same time believe that everything is great and wonderful and flowery. So there's so much to it. But just starting basic and general, just even by saying my writing's good, and every time you have like that doubt, just say my writing is good, and that's all you do. That alone will start to change, because I knew when I started really implementing this in my writing, it just changed it so fast. And I swear to you, my writing got better. after I started doing this. It just got better and better and better. And like, I have emails of a beta reader where she read one draft and then I had done some stuff to it, sent it back, and she was like, I cannot believe the level of improvement from what I read before to what it is now. And so I credit that to the law of attraction, because I say my writing's good, and it is. It just gets better and better and better and better. Like, another example, I'm working on book 2 right now, and I basically wrote it in about 3 months, super quick. One of the best, easiest, chillest times I've ever had writing a book. So fast, no issues, like, just done. Like, it was great. And before, it took me like 4 years to get my book published, because I did a lot of rewrites, and I rewrote the book 3 times, and the first book, The Mark of Creation, went through 10 different drafts from the 3rd rewrite all the way to where it is now published. So it's just crazy, like, how much it's improving. And I'm actually going back. I just finished the draft. I'm reading it now. And I was reading it last night. I'm like, damn, this is pretty good. Like, the writing is just good. Like, it's so much better than like what that first draft of my last one was. Holy cow. Like, so much better. And I know it's because of law of attraction, because I say it. I say that the writing and the story is good. And everyone who has read the book, they all really like it, most people. But I believe in it. And I believe that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, I always say, like, it's my destiny to be a writer. It's the one thing that I've never quit in my life, because I don't know about you, but like, I'm super artistic, and I'm super, like, I have a very like tinkering mind, and I get bored. I got bored with hair and makeup. I modeled for years. I got bored with that. I just get bored with stuff, but like, writing is the one thing that I've always stuck with, and storytelling, and I'm so passionate about it, and I just love it so much. And I teach a lot of storytelling, like craft and stuff, and I love it. I just really do love it, and it's totally just been a blessing in my life. And I know that's because of the law of attraction and how I've kind of implemented that mindset into my life.
It really sounds like law of attraction is like a lifestyle choice, and
Yeah.
like it makes me think of this example that I think about a lot where say somebody goes on a diet, they might try a trend and then it works for them for a little bit and then they just go back to what they were before, right? So it's kind of like
Mhm.
if you're choosing to go down this path, this is the lifestyle choice that you need to shift, right? You want to include it in every day. It's like a journey. It's, you're still learning about it every day. It's something you incorporate all the time. It's not just, okay, I'll try it for a little bit and then see if it works and then go about my regular habits, right? It's habit forming, right?
Absolutely. 100%. Like, you hit it so spot on. And you said it perfectly. That's exactly what it is. And especially like with the diet is like a comparison. It's exactly like that. You could slip back and gain all that weight back so much faster than it took to lose it. And it's so weird. Like, I think we're just like programmed backwards, you know? It's like, because think about like all the conditioning and the programming we've had since childhood. It's a little bit red pilly, I know. But it's but if you think about it, like, logically, we're told so many things that are like, and it's different from family to family and person to person, but like, for example, like, my dad had like super bad like money mindset stuff, and so he equates money with lack, and like, that's something I took on. And then another thing law of attraction has totally helped me with is money. But it's just, we have all these like beliefs in our minds that like don't have to be true if we decide that they're not true. It's just mind blowing that not everybody gets this or knows about it or hears, or if they do hear, they're just like, I don't believe that. But it's more scientific than you'd realize. So there's something in our brain. I might screw the what it's called. I think it's the reticulating activating system. It's this some way our mind works. Let's say, for example, you go and buy a yellow Maserati or whatever, and you're in LA, because there's not going to be any of those where I live. But let's say you buy that car, then you start seeing that car or yellow cars everywhere. Why? it's the reticulating activating system in your brain focusing on it. They were always there, but it's the thing in your brain that like focuses the stuff that you consciously see. That's what it does. That's what's showing you those yellow cars all of a sudden. So that's kind of like a bit of the science, like the brain science behind law of attraction, that I think is really cool. That if you just start to focus on something, you're going to start to see it. And it's something that everyone is doing all day long without even realizing it. That's what cracks me up, is that when people say like, oh, I like think that's woohoo, like off the wall witchy stuff, which a lot of people do feel that way. You're doing it regardless. Like, it's a scientific quantum physics type of angle, and it's bizarre. You have like a spiritual side to it, and like a mental emotional side to it, and then like a very scientific side to it as well. So it's very fascinating to go down that rabbit hole if it piques your interest. I mean, I definitely recommend going down it, because you could go anywhere with it. Like for me, it really like set off, a beautiful like spiritual journey, and that's a personal thing for, definitely not necessary, but that's where it took me. And yeah, it's in every aspect of my life, to love, to writing, to money, to friends, family, health. It's everywhere in my life. Like, how can it not be, after knowing what I know and having so many amazing things happen? Like, it's crazy. It's just crazy.
Yeah, it's definitely a fascinating thing, and just thank you for so much coming on here to talk about it. As we start to wrap up here, is there any lasting words of advice you want to share with our listeners?
Hmm. I'd say, yeah, just be open to it. Like, don't go in with super expectations. And I'm assuming, like, most writers are the ones listening now. And, it might sound like too good to be true, that, like, all you have to do is say your writing's good, and then it's going to be amazing and perfect. And it won't happen all of a sudden. And it won't be like that. You're not going to be, Stephen King overnight. But if you can like just feel better about your writing a little bit, and just even give yourself a little bit of grace, even if you don't believe that your writing is good, just to say it. Because, your brain doesn't know the difference between a made up thought and a real thought. So your brain only knows what it's telling you. So if you're telling yourself, my writing is bad, your brain is going to pop out bad writing. Okay. So if you think your writing is good, your brain is going to be like, okay, I'm good at this. And it'll eventually start to shift over. And it's very personal to everybody, but it definitely works, and it's different. It's a different thing to try to get your writing to be better. It's not like a tip that you can just implement right away and you just do it once and it's done. It's, you said it's a lifestyle change, but if you just do it with your writing, you will see improvement and it'll work, but just stick to it. And it doesn't matter if you believe it or not. You will eventually. So just keep telling yourself that you're an amazing writer, because you are.
Absolutely. All right. So, where can people find you if they want to connect?
I'm basically everywhere. My main website is www.arabellakfederico.com. So just my name, really simple. And my biggest platforms are TikTok and Instagram, but I'm on Twitter and YouTube and Facebook. And I think that's everywhere. And I have a newsletter and a private Facebook group for readers if you want to get in on that. And yeah, all my links are in all the bios on all the platforms. So you just click the one link and it'll take you everywhere that you would want to go. And you can find my books on Amazon. Like I said, the Mark of Creation is on Kindle Unlimited. And it's in paperback and hardback, and the audiobook is coming really soon too, and the narrator is like so cool, so watch out for that.
All right. Exciting stuff. Thank you so much for being on here, Arabella. And it was a pleasure to talk to you. And I'll put all your links in the show notes and everything. And hopefully you get some new readers out of this. And I just thank you for, being so energetic and passionate about what you're talking about. It really shows through when you talk about writing, and you said you get bored by other things so easily, but it's so interesting when you find that one passion that's just like, yes.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Thanks. Happy writing, worthy writers. Thank you for listening to the Worthy Writers podcast. Did you enjoy this episode? Leave a review, then subscribe to both my newsletters for stories from my life and tips on building a desirable writing journey. I'd love to hear your thoughts and ideas for future episodes as well. My link tree is in the show notes with all the places we can connect. Welcome to my community. Happy writing, worthy writers!